Hi everyone, welcome back to another video, and if you are new here, hello, my name is Choua and welcome to the first episode of a series I'm starting on my channel called The Slow Healing. If you have found me through makeup, project painting, and just random vlogs in the past 2 to 3 years, you'll know that my bio and parts of my intro includes my health and well-being. And I know I've been doing a lot of beauty content right now. That's just because it is my escape. It is somewhat a therapeutic way for me to really help with my anxiety and things that I'm going through in my personal life. So that's the reason why I'm putting out so many beauty related kind of content. But that is not all that this channel is about. This channel is also about talking. What am I saying? This channel is also about talking about the really raw and silent struggles of someone who lives with a invisible disability, is what some people call it. And I have been meaning to sit down and do some kind of video like this for you all who have found my channel through that kind of scope and topic of health and well-being and lifestyle. And I'm finally ready and I feel prepared enough to sit down and just talk more about what it is like as a person who lives with a lifelong disorder and chronic pain that is a result of this disorder. This is kind of like a talking video, so feel free to just do what you want to do while you listen to me talk. And if you did find my channel through beauty content and this is not the tea for you, or I wouldn't say it's tea really, but if it's not your cup of tea, go ahead and just click off. And I will see you in the next beauty content related video. Otherwise, feel free to sit down, have a cup of coffee, have a snack, do what you gotta do, and let's jump right into it. So before I officially jump into my health history sort of thing, I just really want to put out there that my intentions with this series is really a anecdote from someone who has struggled with health issues their entire life. I feel like I don't really have an outlet where I can express myself and also spread awareness. Of course, close friends and family already know that I have this condition and they already am tied to me in a certain way. But when it comes to just expressing myself without holding back and also spreading awareness of the hardships that people go through with a blood disorder, I don't really have a space for that, so I'm creating that space here on my channel. I will be sharing my experiences, lessons I've learned, lessons I have taken away or haven't learned from, and just creating a sense of belonging here. So if you feel like you have been alone living with a chronic disease, illness, disorder, condition, whatever it may be, I hope that this is a space where you can find comfort and belong in, and I don't know, build a sense of community here with me. Before I can talk about healing, I have to kind of talk about where this all started. And so I'm gonna kind of get into the scientific nitty-gritty parts of my condition before I go and jump into any personal experiences and stories about this disorder, in order for people to kind of get a little bit more context and understand what I'm talking about. So here we go. I live with a disease called hemoglobin H disease, which is a type of alpha thalassemia. And for those who are like, hold up, Choua, like, what are you talking about? Alpha thalassemia is a genetic blood disorder that is passed down from one or both parents. So it is genetic. You're not going to get it if I accidentally sneeze or cough on you. That's kind of one of the misconceptions that people kind of think about when they learn that I have a disorder. And so a person who has thalassemia will produce less hemoglobin than a normal healthy individual. Hemoglobin is a iron-rich protein. This is something that shows up in your red blood cells, and this is the protein that carries oxygen to your cells. And so there are two types of thalassemia. There's alpha and beta. This refers to the part of hemoglobin that is not being made in the body. If either part is not made, there aren't enough building blocks to make hemoglobin, at least mature hemoglobin, to carry out the duty of carrying oxygen to the cells. So low alpha building blocks of hemoglobin is called alpha thalassemia, which is what I have, and then low beta building blocks is what beta thalassemia is. And so thalassemia can cause mild to severe anemia, and the severity and type of anemia depends on how the genes are affected. So for someone who is born with thalassemia, they are going to be anemic, probably for the rest of their lives, depending on what kind they have. And so there are 4 types of alpha thalassemia. I don't know much about the beta thalassemia because that's a condition that I don't have. And the people around me that have the same kind of disorder as me, they don't have that. They have alpha thalassemia. So if you have that disorder and you feel safe and comfortable enough to kind of differentiate the two, or like just talk about your different experiences down in the comments and whatnot, go ahead and do so. But yeah, there are 4 types. The first type is the silent carrier, which is when only one gene is missing or damaged while the other 3 genes are normal. So there are 4 genes. And so blood tests come back normal. Your red blood cells may be smaller than normal, but as a silent carrier, you don't display any signs of the disease, but you can pass it on. So you still do have that gene. Alpha thalassemia carrier, that is when 2 genes are missing and the person may experience mild anemia and or exercise intolerance, which means they have to be very careful for when they exercise or get up and be very active because they have anemia, and that can cause them to feel lightheaded, pass out, and less energetic, or just less energy in general. And then the third one is the hemoglobin H disease. That's what I have. And that's when 3 genes are missing, leaving only 1 functional gene. And so a person can experience a mild to severe anemia, and symptoms can worsen with a fever or exposed to certain medicines, chemicals, or infectious agents. And a person can also feel super fatigued, very tired, have enlarged liver or spleen, yellowish skin, or large ulcers on top of having anemia. And so blood transfusions are often needed when you have hemoglobin H disease and have a greater risk of having a child with alpha thalassemia, and have a greater risk of having a child with alpha thalassemia major, which is the 4th type of alpha thalassemia. And so alpha thalassemia major is when all 4 genes are missing, which causes severe anemia. In most cases, a baby will die before birth. So this is when I came to a realization that if I do want to get pregnant and have a family, I will have to most likely prepare myself to face this challenge to either miscarrying or having a stillborn in the future. So those are the 4 types. It's kind of very serious and very kind of like down in the dumps right off the bat. I apologize for that, but I just think it's really important to really speak about the different types. I feel like when you hear about someone's condition, you automatically assume they have the worst of the condition or the mildest of the condition, when it really is a spectrum. And with thalassemia, there is no cure. You cannot be cured of this disorder, but there is treatment to reduce symptoms, like taking vitamin supplements like folic acid and vitamin D that are associated with anemia, and then having your spleen taken out, or blood transfusions, or being on prescription drugs. And I have gone through all of those treatments in my lifetime. When did I first notice something was wrong? Well, I've lived with this condition my entire life. I was born with it. So, my diagnosis as a newborn was a story that my mom would always remind me, to kind of not only humble myself, but also to be grateful for the lived experience that I've gone through and for what I should look forward to in my future. And my mom would always remind me that my birth was a very complicated one. She often reminds me that when I was first born, I was going through a lot of complications of not breathing, and the healthcare providers at that time had to try really hard to get me to live, and I was very close to being pronounced dead. And so my mom considers me as like a miracle baby, because I was not only the first girl in the family, but I was also the first child born with this condition. And so this was a really big learning curve for my parents and also for myself. I didn't first start noticing something was wrong because it was always something I lived with, but I didn't start becoming conscious and more insecure about it until I had reached grade school. It was when I first started to surround myself with other children, other peers, and just in an environment that's not controlled by my guardians. Because when I'm at home, my parents would usually kind of cater to my needs. I kind of already knew that I was a little bit different from my family, the rest of my family, I should say. But when I first entered school, that was when I was like, oh wow, like I feel different, I look different, I feel like I'm being treated differently. And that was when I started to pay a little bit more attention to who I am as a person, and if what I am going through is because of my condition or because of my personality and my way of thinking in life, I guess you could say. So that was when I started paying attention a little bit more. And that was also when I started to grow a little bit more insecure about myself. Again, I felt very insecure and I was picked on a lot as a child. I was made fun of a lot as a child. And not only did I already feel inferior because of how my body responds to very high physical activity, or long days of school, but I was also made fun of by people growing up for being different, having different hair textures, having different physical appearances, not being able to do everything that the normal child can do. And so I was really angry at myself and just the way I was born, or how I was born, what I was born with, because I just wanted to feel normal one day. You know, I just wanted to be able to be in the top 10 of the people who run the mile, or being able to play ball with my friends and family without feeling like I'm a burden. I just always wished that this disorder would go away, and I wished and hoped it would go away the older I got. That was my thought process, was that if I just grow stronger, it'll be less of a problem. And that was a really strong mindset for a very, very long time, up until my mid 20s. Honestly, I realized that this disorder was going to be my reality, my life after I had surgery at a young age. I had my spleen taken out in first grade, so when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and I just had to process as a child. Of course, like the kind of counseling and the kind of patient care at the time wasn't isn't what we kind of have today. But I realized I would never be a healthy kid. I will always have to rely on others, medicine, and always feeling like I am made to feel like a burden. And that was when I either had to accept it or change my mindset around it, as I grew older. There was a specific moment when I realized that this was my life now, and there have been multiple moments in my life that made me feel like, yeah, this is my reality, and this is my life. But recently, the most recent was in 2021 when I was hospitalized. I had a reaction to my COVID vaccine, and that was because I already contracted a virus at that time, and I still decided to go get my COVID vaccine anyways. And so my health just spiraled. It was a really hot mess, and that was a big wake up call in my adulthood, that although I have gone through years of no hospitalization, no doctor visits, no examinations, that it's going to creep up and I'm going to have to face these kinds of episodes, and that I will truly never escape this condition. I can go years without being hospitalized if I take care of myself. I can go years without a blood transfusion. I can probably even go years without medication, and that is the best I can do living with this condition. But I can never truly escape it. I can never truly just live like a normal human being, not being able, like, not having to monitor my health, not having to always have that little angel and devil, on my shoulder to tell me you should eat this because it's gonna help your condition. You can't eat that because you're gonna have a flare up, stuff like that. And so that was a moment when I realized that no matter how well I try to take care of myself, and no matter how well I do to avoid getting sick, to avoid being anemic to the point where I need to be hospitalized, my body is going to respond to something that I don't even know about. And I will just have to find out at the hospital and at my doctor's office. And that is something that I just need to kind of face and come to terms with. What did I start doing differently to cope or survive? I think what had helped me cope and survive, these past 5 to 6 years, is that I just need to listen to my body. And as much shame and embarrassment and insecurity that comes to listening to my body, sometimes I just have to do it. And what I mean by that is, if it's a day where I have a packed schedule of doing chores at work, and my body is telling me, Choua, you need to slow down, you need to sit and just breathe and eat something, I will have to give into that and let my body win and do what I gotta do to take care of myself. And as much as I want to be involved in a lot of things, I had to come to terms to find different ways to involve myself in it. So I used to be able to dance and be okay with it, but my body is not the way it used to be. So now I have retired, and the only way I'm actually involving myself is by supporting teams that are competing and still out there, and supporting people that I knew through dance and supporting my coach through dance. When it comes to extraneous activities like gardening, I have to pace myself, and when I think I can get something done in about 3 hours, I add 3 more hours on top of that, just because I have a lot of drive and ambition to get things done, but my body sometimes cannot catch up to that. And so I have to add more time to what I originally planned, because my body would need a break, even if I don't want to take a break. Otherwise, I'm going to face the consequences later, and that would take even more time. And so I find ways to sort of survive with my condition. And when I do have my condition acting up, a way to cope it is just to really live the moment. I think when I was younger, and I did have an anemic episode, I would just get so mad and I would try to speed up the healing process. But now I can't. As much as I want to, I can pretend that I'm all healed from my recent anemic episode and whatnot, or my recent cold or flu that I got or something like that. But I can't force my body to heal to the speed that I want it to. And that's something that I have to just cope with and sit with. How did I begin to find a new version of normal? I guess if you ask me this at different parts of my life, I would have a different answer. But as of right now, a new version of normal for me is having breaks. I keep bringing this up, but having breaks throughout the day, saying no to things, especially when I know my body can't take it. I know, especially when my body feels so tired and drained, I have found a new normal of just saying no. And if I do want to be a part of something, I need to compromise with myself. And instead of being at the event from beginning to end, maybe go at the beginning and stay halfway through, or go later and stay a little later. That is my new normal with my condition. For a good chunk of my young adult life, I was primarily plant-based. I would eat meat maybe once a day or 3 to 4 times a week. But primarily plant-based, because I was going to school for nutrition and I knew what was best for my body, nutrition-wise. But then once I was hospitalized in 2021, that was when I realized that being plant-based for the most part is really not gonna cut it for me. I have to start eating meat a little bit more frequently. As much as that kind of pains me, because I try to limit like red meats and all of that, I knew that I need to keep my iron intake up, so that way I avoid a anemic episode when it comes to iron related anemic episodes, and really try to help my body in a way, even if I can't really help with the hemoglobin aspect of my condition. And so I eat meat a little bit more frequently now, at least 1 to 2 times a day. And when I do eat meat, I try to eat more than I used to, just because there are days where I do feel like eating something vegetarian. I have that iron from the previous meal that I can kind of compromise with. That's my new normal, is just being able to adapt different lifestyle habits that is going to keep me at bay, if not get better. And with my new normal, I did learn about my body a little bit more, my limits, my strengths. My body is never and will never going to be as strong and healthy as my family members and friends and peers, coworkers, teammates. I'm never gonna have that kind of able body that people may have to lift a 50-pound bag of rice, you know? And learning about my body and just what my condition is like as I grow older is I have to accept my limits. So I experience body aches a lot, joint issues, and I have to know my limit. And luckily, my husband respects my limits and understands what I can and cannot do with my condition. And so he is there to help me when I can't do a certain thing. So when I need help lifting heavy things or when I need help doing chores and all that, he's there for me, and he carries the weight sometimes when I feel like I can't be the responsible partner for that day. And I know for relationships it's supposed to be a 50-50 thing, but in our relationship I feel like it's a little more unique because there will be days where I cannot give him my 50%. I can only give him my 30, and he will have to carry on the extra 20. As a couple, we are okay with that because there are days when he can't give me his full 50 and he can only give me his 30, and I will have to carry that 20. And so I think we've come to a point where we listen to each other's body as well and each other's limits, and we find strength in each other, and that helps me find strength in myself that sometimes you can't really see in yourself unless someone points it out to you. So, what have I learned since pain became my normal? I have learned to over prepare sometimes, and really just think about what might happen. There's those what if situations. So, whenever I'm traveling, I always have to kind of think about what I need to pack for my condition. So, my medications, my knee brace, wraps in case I have wrist problems, ankle problems, Tylenol, extra vitamins, little things like that, and also being able to make sure that I have enough funds set aside for when I need to buy like Gatorade, because that's something that I need to drink when I'm traveling to really help keep me hydrated and feel like I'm the healthiest version of myself when I'm traveling. Otherwise, I do get very tired and very lethargic. And so, just over preparing for the what ifs, because there have been times when I feel like I prepared enough, but then I get an anemic episode, and there were things that I'm like, oh my gosh, if I had this, it would have just alleviated so much of my pain. And so, I prepare for that now, and I learned that when I do start to feel pain, I need to stop. I need to stop what I'm doing, or at least try to finish what I'm doing and rest. Because before I really started to listen to my body, I would push through the pain and I will suffer the consequences at the end of the day, and it will take me forever to recover. And it gets to the point where I get so irritated with myself that I would say, okay, next time I won't do it. But then I do it again anyway. So now I'm listening to my pain. If I'm having pain in my hands and my wrists, I will try to work, but like on the computer a little bit more and like type a little bit slower. If I have hip joint issues or I have a lot of tension and pain in my shoulders, I will do my best to take a few breaks throughout the day to just lay down and stretch. And that has been something that I have learned, is just pause It's okay to pause and really take care of myself and then resume what I gotta do that day. What keeps me going is knowing that I have a supportive partner who may not 100% wholeheartedly understand everything I go through, everything I experience, everything I feel, but they are there at the end of the day to carry me through if I can't do it myself. And knowing that there is no shame and embarrassment with someone who is there for me is what keeps me going. And also my ambitions and my future goals is also something that keeps me going. And because of being picked on and made fun a lot growing up, I always felt like I needed to pretend my disease is not there. I felt like I always had to pretend to be just as normal, just as healthy as everyone else around me. But now I don't have to, and I can still achieve what I want to do, but also do it at a pace that will work for me is what keeps me going. And knowing that there is a whole community out there that suffers with the same or similar disorders I do brings me comfort and a sense of community because I'm not going through this alone. And if I can talk to my past self, especially the one who realized that her life just changed, I would say keep going. Doesn't matter how fast or slow you do something, just keep going and you will be okay. Your life changes, chapters close, new episodes start, but you are alive and you will find the peace and the healing that you have been looking for in the future. But just keep going and don't give up on yourself. So this is where my healing began, not when the pain stopped, but when I finally stopped running from it. I hope this is a good first episode for this sort of series I'm starting on my channel. I don't know how well this is going to come out, but let me know what you think about this series and this episode and this setup. I thoroughly just want to sit down and be raw, be transparent, and be as vulnerable as I can with you all. Maybe not be 100% all of that, all in one go, all the time, 100% of the time. But as much as I would love to share what I go through and how my life has been like, I also like to keep things to myself as well. So I hope that is okay. But yeah, anyways, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know if you like this kind of series, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.